The story you're about to hear is a compilation of documented true facts about historical characters, events, or locations. Please sit back and listen as I narrate this story to you. Gary Dale Mathias, Jack Madruga, Jackie Huett, Theodore Weiher, and William Sterling was a group of friends from Yuba City, California, who set out on a trip to watch a basketball game on February 24, 1978 in Chico, California. They left once it was completed, then drove up a mountain into the wilderness and was never seen alive again. The incident has been referred to as the Mathias Group Incident, the Yuba City 5 case, and the American Dyatlov Pass incident after the unsolved deaths of 9 hikers in the northern Ural Mountains of the Soviet Union, now known as Russia, between February 1st and February 2nd, 1959. The area where the incident occurred was Dyatlov Pass, named after the group's leader, Igor Dyatlov. Jackie, the youngest of the group, was 24 years old, and Ted, the oldest, was 32 years old. They were all mentally handicapped adults enrolled in a day program for people with developmental disabilities, but that didn't mean they couldn't function in society. Quite the contrary. Gary Mathias had the most severe mental illness of the group. He had schizophrenia and was taking medication to control his symptoms. Jack had a low IQ but had not been diagnosed as mentally disabled, and he and Gary had both served in the United States Army and had driver's licenses. According to police records, Mathias had become violent on several occasions and had been charged with assault twice. He would fail to take his medicine after returning from Army service in Germany, resulting in a disoriented psychosis that usually landed him in a Veterans Administration hospital. His doctor and family, however, stated that his condition had not resurfaced in the previous 2 years because it was being successfully managed by his medication. Ted Weiher worked as a janitor and snack bar clerk for a while before quitting at the urging of his family, who believed his slowness was causing problems. Jackie Charles Huett, who had a slight droop in his brow, was a loving shadow to Weiher, who looked after Huett in a protective manner and would dial the phone for him when Huett needed to make a call. Jack Antone Madruga, a high school graduate and Army veteran, was laid off from his job as a busboy for Sunsweet Growers in November 1977. Madruga's special friend and deeply religious William Lee Sterling would spend hours at the library reading literature to help bring Jesus to patients in mental hospitals. Gary Dale Mathias worked as an assistant in his stepfather's gardening business and was an Army veteran who had been psychiatrically discharged 5 years before due to drug problems in Germany. The 5 men drove about 50 miles north from Yuba to Chico on Friday, February 24th to attend a college basketball game. When the game at California State University ended around 10 p.m., they went 3 blocks away to Bear's Market, mildly irritated the clerk who was trying to close, and bought 1 Hostess cherry pie, 1 Langendorf lemon pie, 1 Snickers bar, 1 Marathon bar, 2 Pepsis, and a quart and a half of milk. When they did not return from Chico the next day, their families became concerned and called the police. The county sheriff's office began looking for the boys. They were supposed to play their own basketball game on February 25 as part of a tournament, with the prize of a free week in Los Angeles if they won. Their clothes had been laid out the night before they left for Chico with words "Getaway Gators" emblazoned on them, from the Yuba City Vocational Rehabilitation Center for the Handicapped, where they all played basketball. A forest ranger discovered Jag Madruga's car abandoned on an unpaved road near Oroville in the Rogers Cow Camp area, past Elk Retreat, at an elevation of 4,500 feet on Tuesday, February 28. The turquoise and white 1969 Mercury Montego was located about a 2.5-hour drive from Chico in the Plumas National Forest, in the opposite direction from the route they were expected to take home. There was no evidence of foul play at the scene, but the car was unlocked. 1 window was open and the keys were nowhere to be found. Although there were candy wrappers, milk cartons, and basketball programs in the car, maps were left in the glove compartment. Police were baffled as to why the man had abandoned the car. The car had become stuck in some snowdrifts, and there was evidence that the wheels had spun to free it. However, Police noted that the snow was not so deep that 5 healthy young men could not have pushed it out. The keys were missing, implying that the car had been abandoned because it may not have been functioning properly with the intention of returning later with assistance. However, when the police hot-wired the car, the engine immediately started. The gasoline tank was 1/4 full according to the fuel gauge. After police towed the car back to the station for a more thorough examination, the mystery deepened. Despite having been driven a long distance up a mountain road with many bumps and ruts, the Montego's undercarriage had no dents, gouges, or even mud scrapes, not even on its low-hanging muffler. Either the driver was extremely cautious, or it was someone who was familiar with the road, which Madruga was not known to have, and Madruga would not have let someone else drive the car, according to his family. Forest rangers searched the area for 5 days and found no trace of the man, but a severe blizzard moved into the area shortly after the search began, covering any potential tracks. The upper mountain received about 9 inches of snow. 2 days later, the search teams nearly lost man as their snowcats struggled through the drifts. After hearing about the disappearance, a man named Joseph Shantz approached the police to explain what had happened to him that night and what he had witnessed. He stated that he had been driving up the same road to check the snow line. He was doing this to ensure that he could pick up his wife and daughter that weekend to go to their cabin. His car became stuck just before the snow line, about 50 meters from where the boys were later discovered. He stated that he got out of his car and attempted to push it free of the snow and frozen mud, but he suffered a heart attack while doing so. Hospital doctors later confirmed this to law enforcement. Shantz was fortunate in that it was only a minor heart attack and he survived. He stated that when he felt the heart attack coming on, he managed to get back inside his vehicle and start the engine to stay warm. He said he sat back in his car and hoped the symptoms would go away. Later that night, he claimed to have heard whistling. The whistling seemed to be coming from a little further down the road, so he got out of the car to see who was calling. He claimed to have seen a group of men and a woman carrying a baby. He claimed to have seen the figures through the glare of another vehicle's headlights. He claimed that he thought he could hear them talking, but that they were too far away for him to understand what they were saying. He claimed to have yelled for assistance, but as soon as he did, the headlights of the other vehicle went out and the group came to a halt. He said he got back in his car and lay back down, confused and perturbed. He claimed to have seen lights close up outside his car window approximately 2 hours later. He explained that it was flashlight beams. He appealed for assistance once more. Again, the flashlights went out and whoever was out there simply vanished, or at the very least, he could no longer see or hear them. He claimed that he stayed in his car until it ran out of gas. And even though it was still dark, he began walking back to a lodge called the Mountain House, about 8 miles back the way he had come. He had stopped at the lodge for a drink on his way up the mountain drive. He claimed to have passed the boys' abandoned car on his way back on foot. He stated that he believed the voices were coming from this location. He hadn't given much thought to what he had seen until he learned of the disappearances. A few weeks later, it was revealed that Shantz was no longer certain about what he had witnessed since he was half-conscious, not lucid, hallucinating, and in a lot of pain. On Saturday and Sunday, a woman reported seeing the 5 men in a red pickup truck about an hour's drive from the location of their abandoned car. She ran a store nearby, and 2 of the men came in to buy food. One of them called from a nearby phone booth, while the other 2 remained in the truck. For months, there was no news as the spring snow melted on the mountains. In June 1978, a motorcycle rider passing through the area noticed a broken window on a Forest Service trailer. The trailer was discovered approximately 19 miles up the mountain from where the car was discovered. Without proper equipment, hiking 19 miles in heavy snow is a difficult task. It was the smell that hit them first. On entering the trailer, the stench was overpowering and they saw a body on a bed stretched out and covered up by sheets as though he had been wrapped up like a shroud. The body was later identified as Ted Weiher. Based on the length of his beard and 100-pound weight loss, Ted appeared to have lived 8 to 13 weeks after his disappearance. At the time of his death, he weighed only 120 pounds. The autopsy revealed that he died as a result of a combination of starvation and hypothermia. Several bed sheets and a shroud were tightly tucked over his body, indicating that he could not have bundled himself up in this manner in the trailer. His leather shoes had come undone and were gone. On a small table beside the bed lay the ring Weiher used to wear, along with his gold chain and his wallet with cash still inside it. There was also a gold Waltham watch with its crystal face missing, which the families claimed did not belong to any of the 5 men. Ted's toes were also severely frostbitten. Investigators believe Madruga and Sterling did not make it to the trailer. Their bodies were discovered the following day, just over 4 miles from the trailer but 11 miles from the car they had abandoned. Their bodies were discovered on opposite sides of the road. Then, Huett's skeleton was discovered on the same road as the trailer. 3 Forestry Service blankets and an old flashlight were discovered a quarter-mile northwest of the trailer. Gary Mathias was nowhere to be found. His tennis shoes were found inside the Forest Service trailer, leading investigators to believe he took them off to put on Weiher's leather shoes, especially since Weiher had larger feet and Mathias's feet were possibly swollen from frostbite. Even though the men's bodies were heavily decomposed, autopsy results revealed that they had most likely died from exposure. The story then takes an even stranger turn. Authorities discovered heavy clothing, matches, playing cards, books, wooden furniture, and other materials that could have easily been used to start a fire inside the trailer. Despite the freezing temperatures on the mountain, there had been no apparent attempt to start a fire. A propane tank connected to the trailer, which could have served as a ready source of heat and cooking fuel, remained unharmed. All they had to do was turn that gas on. Yuba County Lieutenant Lance Ayers said, and they'd have had gas and heat to the trailer. A year's supply of sea rations was kept in a storage shed outside. Individual canned, pre-cooked, and prepared meals were distributed to the United States military. The man ate 36 of the meals but left the majority untouched. There was also a large supply of freeze-dried meals. An Army P-38 can opener had been used to open one of the sea ration cans. This behavior, however, was consistent with what Weiher's family members described as a lack of common sense caused by his mental disability. He frequently questioned why he should stop at a stop sign, and one night, he had to be dragged out of bed while his bedroom ceiling was burning in a house fire because he was afraid of missing his job the next day if he left his bed. Even after learning that 4 of the 5 men had died in the Sierra, investigators were unable to fully explain what had caused their deaths. They had still found no explanation for why the men were there, though they had learned that Mathias had friends in the small town of Forbestown, and police suspected that the men may have taken a wrong turn near Oroville and ended up on the mountain road to visit them on their way back home. Hey everyone! I just wanted to express how grateful I am that you took time out of your day to listen to my narration. This is Nikki of Twysted Mind, and I'd like to wish you a wonderful rest of your day. Salamat!